Alright, I'm going to, this video is going to be multiplying two mixed numbers. So I'm going to remember the steps when I multiply fractions. The first thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that I convert everything to fractions. So if I have a mixed number, which means a whole number, and a fraction, I need to convert them all to fractions. And that means I'm going to end up with improper fractions, which means the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I'm going to do that, and how I do that is I'm going to take the denominator 2, I'm going to multiply it by my whole number, which is 3, and I'm going to add my numerator. So I'm going to end up with 7, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 7 halves, and then I'm going to multiply it by, take my denominator 9, multiply it by my whole number, which is 4, 9 times 4 is 36, plus my 8 is 44. So I'm going to have 44 ninths. Alright, so now I have all fractions. Okay, and I'm going to put these right next to each other because when we multiply fractions, we really want them right next to each other so that we can cross-cancel if we can. What I mean by cross-cancel is we can simplify the fraction before we multiply. And remember, any numerator with any denominator. And how do I see what we have in common? Well, I can actually prime factor each one and write it as a product of primes. A product of primes. Alright, so the one that I know that 7 is prime, and so it's not going to have anything in common with 9. 2 is prime, but I know that 44 is an even number. So how do I know what 2 and 44 have in common? Well, if you know that 2 goes into 44 22 times, that's great. If you don't, let's go ahead and prime factor that out, and we're going to have something like this. We're going to have 44. Oops. We're going to have 44. And if we prime factor that out, I know that 44, it goes in, let's say 11 and 4 times. And then I know that 11 is prime, and I know that 4 prime factors into 2 and 2, so I can rewrite 44, just rewrite 44 as a product of primes, which is 2 times 2 times 11. Alright, so that's an easy way of seeing what they have in common, the numerators and the denominators. I see now that this 2 right here, there's a 2 up here, and I can cancel those off. So I'm just going to say that 2 goes into 2 one time, so get rid of those. I'm going to write a 1 on the bottom. Oops. I'm going to write a 1 on the bottom and a 1 on the top. Alright, so I canceled those off. Now I can multiply my product of primes out again. So I'm going to have 7 over 1 times 2 times 11 is 22 over 9. Alright, now after I've simplified my fraction out, I can multiply the numerators and I can multiply the denominators. So if I multiply the numerators, I'm going to take 22 times 7. So I'm going to have 22. I'm going to do it over here, times 7. I'm going to say 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to have a 4 down here. I'm going to carry my 1 up here. And then I'm going to take 7 times 2 is 14 times 1 is 15. So I'm going to have 154. So I added the 1 because that was what I carried. So 154. So I'm going to have 154 on top. I'm going to have 9 on the bottom. Alright, now that's a big number. 154 divided by 9. But I know that 154 divided by 9, that's just an improper fraction. Let's come over here to my vocabulary again, and I know that's an improper fraction. I need to simplify that improper fraction. So that's my answer. I'm going to erase everything so we have room to work. So let's take this and erase it. And I'm going to just end up with 154 over 9. So let's rewrite that, 154 over 9. And I know that that's my answer, but it's not correct until I simplify it. What that means, if I have an improper fraction, that means that my numerator right here is bigger than my denominator, and that makes it improper. So I need to simplify it. That means that there's hidden whole numbers in this fraction. So one way to pull it out is to subtract. I look at my 9 and I know that I can take a whole out because my whole is in 9 pieces. So if I subtract off 9 over 9, I'm going to end up I'm going to end up with 9 on the bottom, and I'm going to end up with 154 minus 9 is 145. You can see that that would take forever to get out all the whole numbers, because this is still improper. The 145 is much bigger than the 9. That is, you can do it that way, but that is not efficient. You only want to pull the whole number out with subtraction when the numerator and the denominator are really close, where you only have to do it maybe once or twice. The only way to efficiently simplify this is to divide the denominator into the numerator. So how do I do that? Well, if you don't know how to do long division, I showed you a method where you can take 154 and you can divide it by 9, and we can do it through a process of doubling. Okay, so I have, let me put, how many 9s do I have here? I have 1 9 right there. Okay, so I'm going to double the 9. So that I'm going to double the 9 and I'm going to make 18. I double the 1 and I have 2. That means I have 2 9s here, and that makes 18. So I'm going to double the 18. I'm going to make, double the 18, I'm going to make 36. And I'm going to double the 2. I'm going to have 4. Double the 36. I'm going to have 72. Double the 4. And if you don't know if you don't know the number, you can say 36 plus 36 and do it off to the side. 36 plus 36. And you can get 72. So if you don't know it in your head, go ahead and pull those numbers off to the side and double them. Well, I'm going to double 72 and I'm going to get 144. But if you don't know that, you can put it over here and you can see that you're going to have a 4, and 7 plus 7 is 14. You're going to have 144 there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that over here. I'm going to say that 72 doubled is 144. And I'm going to double the 8, and I'm going to have 16. So what this says is that I have 16 9s. So I have 16, write that back, 16. I have 16 9s, and that makes 144. So I know that 16 times 9 is 144. That's what the doubling method does. Now that I have all my numbers there, I know that I can use 16 here. So I'm going to use the 16, and I'm going to subtract off 144 minus 144. All right, and that's going to give me 0 there, and it's going to give me 1 there. I have 10 left. Well, let's take a look up here. I can't use this one, that's too big. Can't use 4, that's too big. I can't use that one, that's too big. I erased it, that's okay. And well, I'll put it back just so you can see. I can't use the 18 because that's bigger than 10, but I can use the 9. I can use it one time. All right, so I can use that one time. And I have 1 9 here, and I'm going to subtract it off. So I'm going to have minus 9, and that's going to give me 1. All right? So let's count up how many times did I use 9. I used 9. I'm going to see how many times I use this number right here. Well, I used it 1 time plus my 16 times. So I used it 1 plus 16 is 17 times. So my answer is going to be 17. And then I'm going to take my remainder, which is another vocabulary word down here. So that's my vocabulary remainder, and I'm going to put it over my divisor. Divisor is also a vocabulary word right there. My divisor is just the 9. So my divisor is the 9. So I'm going to put my remainder over my divisor, and I'm going to have 1 9. So you can see that I took this 1 right here, and I put it over my divisor. So I had 1 9. 17th and 1 9 is my answer. So 154 9ths equals 17 and 1 9. I hope that helps. Thank you.